What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here, just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Simeone Foundation Automotive Museum. And do I have a treat for you today? Let's go inside and check out, really, we're talking like slices of history, and you're going to be really excited to see this. Now, here we are inside, and if you don't have an appreciation for classic racing vehicles, you will when you leave here. Right next to me over here, we have not what you would think of when you think of Ferrari Testarossa, but right there, the original Redhead. Now, this is a 1958 Testarossa. At the end of the 1950s into the early 1960s, this car was super dominant in racing. The design of this car, the sleek look, it's still sexy by modern day standards, makes it one of the most desirable cars Ferrari has ever made. And to make it one of the most desirable Ferraris ever made means it's one of the most desirable cars of all time. Now, the museum features 65 cars that are just absolute time capsules, and some of them have racing history, some of them are just similar to ones that have won races, but you're looking at some cars here that have won some of the most famous races and the most famous races in the world. Now, over here, I mean, just looking at the different cars, this one right here is a 1938 Peugeot, and it's just amazing to look at. The color, it's just one thing that you don't realize at this museum is that virtually all the cars are running. There is a team of guys that works here at the museum that does nothing but tend to this fleet of cars at all times to make sure they're up and running. And ideally, we're going to take one out back and go for a ride in one. That will be awesome. That will be the highlight of my day. Well, one of the highlights of my day. Now, I'm going to be doing a series featuring some pretty stellar garages and pretty stellar collections, because I know a bunch of people that have just amazing collections of cars. I can't even include this in this because this is so far beyond a collection. I mean, this really is a museum. I mean, you have a guy that has lots of cars, trades them, buys them, gets rid of them, and then you have these that are just like really, really something special. I mean, imagine having this in your garage. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd put a dealer plate on it and take it around. Let's not pretend I'm not me. But I mean, these cars are really something special. Like right over there, this is a Bugatti, and this was a 20s Bugatti. And I remember this car, I don't know if it's a specific car, but this car did the Monaco Grand Prix, and that's very cool. Like, these are like the leaning cars. You know, when you see like the drivers and they're sort of leaning, there's some more cars over there that are like super old. They don't even have seatbelts. You have a race car without seatbelts because seatbelts weren't a thing, I guess. I mean, and you're not talking that they're super horsepower cars. I mean, you're talking 40, 50 horsepower, but still you're doing something that the tires are literally, it's like being on 4 bicycle tires effectively. Imagine sliding around in a car like that at 80, 90 miles an hour. You may recognize this, 55 Mercedes Gullwing. Now that's a popular car. Everybody's got a sort of a fetish for that, and it spawned cars like the Mercedes-Benz SLS. They did the SLR, the doors did that, nobody really cared. SLS, boom, right back to the Gullwing design, and that was a really popular, really popular thing. This car is one of the most sought after collector cars out there. There's more of those here, not that, but more sought collector cars. Now, when you think of Bentleys, you're like me. You think of like a Brooklyns, a Arnage, a Continental GT. You don't think about this. This is a 1931 Bentley, which the interior is not the focus. This is a supercharged car from the 30s. And how do you know it's supercharged? Well, if you look at the front of it, prominently right there on the bottom, you can see a supercharger bolted onto it. Now, it just having a Roots blower bolted onto a car. I mean, look at the look of this car. Look at the front of that. That design for Bentley has gone for, I mean, 80, 90 years. I mean, from the 30s to today, you can even see. Really cool to see something like this. And you have to be a really specific type of collector to even entertain purchasing cars like this. But it's really something to behold. Another thing also featured with the cars here are different types of races and venues. I mean, you have Le Mans, you have Mille Miglia. You have the Bonneville Salt Flats. You have all these different races also featured in the themes of this building. So if you're not familiar, most people don't know Mille Miglia, which is a race that takes place in Italy, and it starts in Brescia, Italy. And that's just like, it's a mix of like these actual public, like country-esque roads, and you have to sort of get used to driving on these different types of terrain and navigating it through. It used to be 1,000 miles long. I don't know how long it is to date, but I know they still run that race to this day. The Bonneville Salt Flats, they run. Le Mans, they run. I mean, there's all these different races that you can see and learn about if you're not familiar with the racing pedigree and history of all these cars and the venues that these take place on. Now, I mean, I don't have to describe this car. You can look at it and be like, wow, that's not a factory 5. Like, you can see. Now, when you think convertibles, you think I push the button, my top retracts. These are convertibles, my friend. These are, there's no seatbelts. There's just you. This is a horse with wheels, effectively. I mean, it really is. Like, luckily the brakes aren't so good, because if you hit them too hard, you go flying right over the hood. All right, now, next to me, we have a couple of Datsuns. 240s, you know? No, not right on that one. Maybe the Ford GTs that everyone's like, that's Ford GT. Yeah. I mean, these cars need no introduction. Clearly, these are real cars, not the factory 5s, not the replica cars. I wouldn't feel comfortable owning this. And it's also like, these are both right-hand drive. This is a 66 Ford GT. And when I say GT40, 40 inches tall. Now, I need to own a replica car. I could not fathom taking the responsibility of having a car like this and knowing, like, even if, let me just like go around one turn. Let me do a little Jimbo action and kick it sideways. And only bad things can happen when you think you're capable of handling history like that and driving it the way I would sort of want to drive it. And this is awesome. Like, this is one of the highlights for me here. Here you go, the 917. You cannot go wrong with this car. I mean, this is, if you know Porsches, you know this car. Porsche 917. This, and you look at the GT40. The GT40 looks like a minivan compared to this car. I would say it's, I don't know, like waist height. I mean, that's like, this is torso car. Just the torso. It's so low. I mean, this is as wild. I mean, if I had to pick a car to drive here, this is probably one of the ones I would choose. Now, the only thing left is for me to see if I can get a ride in something. And I don't know what, but any of these cars would make my day if I can go for a ride. Let me go knock on the door. Pulling out from behind me is a 1953 Jaguar C-Type. Now, this is really exciting. It's one of the sexier looking cars that was inside, and it's freezing, and normally I wouldn't be out in the convertible, but this is too good of an opportunity for me to pass up. Yeah, buddy. Now, this car that you see here, this specific car, it didn't win, but it came in 3rd at Sebring, which is very cool. I'm gonna get in. Now, you've driven every car here, right?
Yeah.
Really special. I'm going to remember that.
Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you for having it. Now, this is the event space, so people can rent this out, or they could just come and view the museum?
They can rent that out, and we can hold up to 800 to 900 people here easily.
Nice. All right, so that was pretty cool. Like, not gonna lie, like it was freezing outside, and like I'm gonna remember. There's rides that you take, there's things that you do that you remember forever. I'm gonna remember driving in that car. I can't ever justify putting that much money into a car like that because these are, I mean, every one of these cars are so expensive. But, and just having the 48 Buick that I had, you had that like maintenance, and these require so much care and maintenance and upkeep that I just can't do, but that was really something cool. I'm gonna text him next time I'm out at Pebble and he's got something out on the West Coast. I think that would be a lot of fun to potentially go for a ride out through Pebble Beach or Carmel in one of these cars. But guys, stop by the Simeone Auto Museum if you're ever in the Philadelphia area. Really fun. I guarantee you're not going to get a ride, but that was really cool for me, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.